And finally, this week's sad tweet comes from at JR's BBQ. Good old JR Jim Ross on Tuesday tweeted the following. He said, "Tomorrow is my last legal day with WWE. It was a great 21-year run. Best business decision ever was coming to WWE in 1993. Grateful to all involved." Ross is easily the best play-by-play man in the history of wrestling, in my opinion. Vince tried to replace him on commentary with Joey Styles and ended up going right back to JR. He tried the same thing with Jonathan Coachman, went right back to JR. When they wanted help to get a big match over at WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, Undertaker against Triple H, who did they call in? Good old JR. He also worked as the head of talent relations during his time there. He's responsible for signing some pretty big names. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley, who without Ross pushing for him likely never would have gotten a second look from Vince McMahon. He was fired, both legit fired and in storyline, so many times I lost count. Humiliated in front of the world on countless occasions. Mocked on commentary, even to this day. The SummerSlam video game panel debacle last year was his undoing. I think that just gave Vince McMahon a reason to get rid of the guy that he was searching for. They let him retire with dignity, but in reality, he got fired. He's admitted as much since then. Ric Flair, who was the cause of that whole thing, is now back in the WWE family with a brand new contract. Good for him. I hope he's got his shit together now. I know he had a rough year with his son dying and all, but it just seems unfair that Flair is back, and same offer appears to have not been extended to JR. I'm not even sure he would want to come back now, quite frankly. He's got a lot of other projects on his plate, some of which he probably wouldn't be allowed to do if he was still under contract at WWE. He's got his podcast, his one-man show. He's finally working on a book. He's doing work for Fox Sports. He may be doing something soon in MMA. He's keeping busy. But it's still fucked up to me that the greatest wrestling commentator alive is relegated to boxing and MMA at a time when wrestling needs him now more than ever. The commentary most weeks is atrocious, and I don't know that bringing back JR would even change that. You know, can you imagine Jim Ross having to constantly plug Twitter hashtags for 3 hours on Monday night, and all the crap they have Michael Cole doing week after week? Still, though, I mean, they benched their best player for so long, I think, at the expense of their own product, and that's at least part of the reason why a lot of fans have abandoned it. You know, great announcing can go a long way when it comes to telling a story and selling you on matches, selling you on pay-per-views and network subscriptions, and just your overall enjoyment of the product. And for the people who think I'm out of my frickin' mind saying the announcing is what's driving away wrestling fans, I'm not saying that's the only thing. But the announcing became that much more important when Raw expanded from 2 hours to 3, which took place 2 years ago this week, by the way. It's been 2 years of 3-hour Raws, and my mind has not changed. I'll say the same thing now that I said back then. 3 hours is just too damn long. You know, WCW could not keep Nitro interesting enough for 3 hours at their peak when wrestling was still hot. Think about all the filler and the bad comedy we've had to sit through at a time when wrestling is not nearly as hot as it was back then. So when the announcers are on their A game, they can be very good. But when they're not, which is often, they can make the show insufferable. And all it does is make me appreciate a guy like Jim Ross even more and realize that, you know, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. I know he was valuable to that company. I know he wore a lot of hats, not just the black hat. He did a lot of different things for them behind the scenes. I just didn't realize how valuable he was until he wasn't there anymore. So it was a sad tweet just because it was an official end to his WWE run. But if he should end up hearing this at some point, best of luck to JR in whatever he does. I shall eat a $2 steak drenched in barbecue for dinner tonight in your honor, sir.